Hey guys, welcome to another video. I feel like this lighting is not working out. Okay, welcome to another video. So I'm very excited to share this video, sharing some healthy vegan brekkie recipes. I get messaged quite a bit about what I eat for breakfast and for breakfast ideas. So even though I do have a similar breakfast most days, I do like to change it up every now and then. So I thought I would share 3 different healthy brekkie recipes that are super yummy and they're all vegan. And I did a mix of sweet and savory, so I did 2 sweet and 1 savory recipes, even though I'm usually more of a sweet girl in the morning when it comes to breakfast, not really a savory girl. But of course I could always go for, like, you know, a nourish bowl or avo and toast or something savory. They're always really good too. So I thought I would share a bit of both. They're super yummy and full of lots of good vitamins, minerals and nutrients for you, so they're all really nourishing and a great way to start the day. One other thing I wanted to add is a lot of people message me when I put a picture on my Instagram story of my oats or something, like, what are the exact quantities of everything you use? And I'm always like, look, you can't compare yourself to other people. Like, you can't watch someone else's what I eat in a day and follow exactly what they eat, because they're completely different from you. You know, their energy intake might be completely different from you. Everyone is completely different. Everyone's energy requirements are different. I have a very high energy requirement. You might have a lower one, or you might have a higher one. Everyone's so different. So really don't compare yourself to other people. You have to eat enough for you and fuel yourself, because if you train a lot, you're going to need to eat more food. If you're very active, you're going to need to eat more. And that's a completely different thing than asking in terms of like a recipe, like measurements to make a recipe work properly. But when it comes to serving size and like energy intake, you have to do what's right for you and what your body needs. Some people don't like to eat big meals in the morning. They might have a smaller meal and then they might eat extra throughout the day, which means if you just have 3 big meals in the day, you don't want to eat the breakfast that they eat because you need more. So you have to just do what works for you. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you did like it, and if you tried any of these recipes out, let me know which was your favorite. And if you would like more videos like this. Also, I'll be posting these recipes with like a full description on my Instagram at wholefoodgram. That's not my main Instagram. My main Instagram is at imogen.russell, but I'll link those down below in the description box. And let's make some brekkie. Okay, so this recipe is pretty simple. I just use a blender to make my batter. So the first ingredient is a banana. I just use any medium-sized banana, and then I use quick oats. So I put in around ½ a cup of quick oats, and then I will add ½ a cup of almond milk or whatever plant milk you like. I put in 1/3 of a cup, but then I ended up needing to put in more, so I definitely put in ½ a cup. And then I put in a teaspoon of maca powder. That was the first powder I put in, and then cinnamon, and then chia seeds. So putting in chia seeds is important as it helps give it the thicker consistency that you would usually get from putting in an egg. So because these are vegan, the egg is kind of replaced by almond milk and chia seeds, which kind of give it the same type of texture. So then I'll spray a little bit of olive oil onto my pan, because it's not a non-stick pan. And then I'll pour in my batter and wait for the pancake to be ready to flip. So when it starts to get a little bit golden around the sides and a little bit of bubbles start to appear, you should be fine to flip it. I always just check by lifting up the side a little bit with my spatula, but just keep an eye on them because they do cook pretty quickly. So while they are cooking, I'll just chop up some fresh fruit, which I like to serve the pancakes with, and also just clean up the mess so that I finish and the kitchen's nice and clean. This should make between 4 and 5 pancakes. You can add more and you might get more out of it because I do get a bit stuck to my blender. I also like to add some chopped banana before I flip it because it makes it all nice and caramelly, which you'll see when I flip this pancake out onto the plate. It goes so yummy when it's cooked like that. So I'll do that in a few of them if I think of it. Otherwise, I do like to top some more banana on top, even though there's banana in it. And of course, what's breakfast or pancakes without peanut butter on top? So I use Maver's natural peanut butter. This one's the dark roasted crunchy one. Of course, crunchy peanut butter forever. And then I also dust on top a little bit of cinnamon, and Bob is your uncle. So of course you can eat healthy foods and still eat pancakes because these are so good for you and so delicious. Okay, now time for the savoury dish, scrambled tofu nourish bowl. So I wanted to make scrambled tofu and I wasn't sure what to serve it with. So I decided to do a bit of a nourish bowl. So first I baked some sweet potato. So I just chopped it up and I added a bit of olive oil. So this is just extra virgin olive oil. And I don't really know how to put it on, so I kind of just massage it into the sweet potatoes. That sounds really creepy, but yeah. And then I'll put those in the oven, and I don't really know how long they bake for. I kind of just kept checking them. And I also made sure I checked them and flipped them all over at a certain point. And I did have to add a little bit more olive oil, which I kind of just poured onto the side and then dipped them all into it, which is really random, but it worked. They baked really well, so yeah. So I used this perfectly firm tofu, so you do want to use a firm tofu for this. And I used just a random one from Woolies. So I'll first just cut that up, and I'll use about a quarter of that big block, and I'll just save the rest of it. And then I'll just chop it all up and then add it to a bowl where I'll then try and mash it all together. Okay, once it's all kind of nice and crumbly and mashed up, I'll add my spices. So the first one I use is garam masala. You could just use any curry powder or spice, but I think this one tastes really good. And then I did not put enough in, like it wasn't flavoursome enough for my liking, so I would add at least a heaped teaspoon. And then I add a tiny dash of turmeric. And this is quite a strong spice, so a tiny bit goes a long way. Then I add a bunch of pepper and a little pinch of salt, and keep on mashing that all together. At this point, I felt like it would be good to add a dash of almond milk because, yeah, I realized that almond milk is the only thing that every single recipe in this video has. So I did add a little bit more garam masala and turmeric. More garam masala was necessary, but the turmeric wasn't. I thought it wasn't yellow enough, but I didn't realize that when you cook it, the color really comes through. So to the pan that I was heating up, I added a bit of extra virgin olive oil. Then I put in my scrambled tofu and started scrambling it. While the scrambled tofu is scrambling, I chopped up some veggies that I wanted to include in this dish. So I just chopped up some button mushrooms. I think they're called button mushrooms, but just some mushrooms. Any mushrooms will do. And then some sweet cilantro or just baby/cherry tomatoes. I like them way better than normal tomatoes. And once the tofu's nice and scrambled, I serve that onto the plate, and then I'll put in my veggies to the pan that they were just cooking in, and then I'll finish my nourish bowl up. So I added a whole heap of baby spinach and then some avocado, and I was hoping this would be a little bit more like aesthetically beautiful for this video. It was a pretty decent one, but nothing special. I made sure I keep checking on my mushrooms and tomato and giving them a stir in the pan. I like to make sure they get nice and cooked down and a bit char grilled. That's not the right word. But anyway, then I'll add some spinach, and this is after the other veggies are finished cooking because the spinach wilts down so quickly. It only takes a matter of seconds before it's all cooked down. So at the very end I'll add some spinach and then add all my veggies on top of the spinach in my nourish bowl. And then we're up to the last bits. So getting out my sweet potato from the oven, which is nice and soft and baked so beautifully at this point. I'll then add that to my nourish bowl. And I'll top it with some avo. What nourish bowl is a nourish bowl without avocado? And I always put either lemon or lime when I have avocado on top, so I'll drizzle a little bit of lemon on top, and I'll crack a little bit of pepper on top too, because that really just gives it that final touch. And there you go, that is your scrambled tofu nourish bowl. You can feel free to add any other spices or different things to the nourish bowl that you would like, but these are just an idea of a yummy breakfast that I'd like to have. Okay, the final recipe is this absolutely amazing granola. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So this was like the first time I've made granola, so it was amazing, but there were some mistakes and areas where I could improve. Okay, so this first part of the recipe was definitely one part I could improve. So this is where I make the kind of sauce. Sauce is not the right word, but let's just go with that for now. So first I add half a cup of nut butters. So I used a combination of natural peanut butter and almond spread. So it's just 100% peanuts and 100% almonds. And basically I'll just scrape that half cup into a little pot that I put on the stove. Then I added a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. You could use coconut oil, but this is where I think I went wrong. I think I needed to add at least 2 or 3 tablespoons because it started to burn pretty quickly. So the last ingredient to this kind of wet aspect of the recipe are 2 very juicy medjool dates. So I got 2 juicy medjool dates, took the pit out, and then I diced them up, chopped them nice and small, and added it to that pot. And this is kind of when I realized that my other ingredients were starting to burn. So they burn really fast. I saved it and it still was beautiful and delicious, but yeah, it wasn't the texture I was aiming for. So I did add a little bit of almond milk because I was aiming for like a really runny texture. I wanted them to get runnier, not thicker. So that's why I think you're meant to add more olive oil. So that's what it was looking like. It was smelling amazing. It smelled like some type of amazing, really delicious batter. But yeah, the texture was a bit thicker than I aimed for it to be. But it worked really well in the end, so yeah. So then I'll do all my dry ingredients. So I get a big bowl and I added 3 cups of whole rolled oats. So not quick ones, they have to be whole. And then I added a cup of nuts. So I used almonds, pecans and cashews. So I did mainly almonds, so half almonds and then the other half a mixture of pecans and cashews. And it's important to use natural, not roasted nuts here because you will be baking it, so they'll get roasted when you bake it. So I don't know how baking already roasted nuts would go down. And then I do another cup, but this one's seeds and coconut flakes. So I did half the cup with pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. And then the other half of the cup I filled up with shredded flakes of coconut. And then I added that into my mixture and stirred it all around so it was all mixed in. Okay, so now we're up to our powders or spices. So I added in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Well, I basically did one really big heaped teaspoon and then another really small teaspoon. So I'm just going to say 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And then I added a pinch of salt, about 1/4 of a teaspoon, and then I mixed that all in together. Okay, so this is the bit where I add that sauce, I still don't know the right word, to my dry ingredients. So I'm just going to scoop that all out onto the oats. And then you need to just thoroughly make sure it's all mixed through really well. And no, stirring is just not good enough at this point. Like, really, you cannot do this without using your hands, because you need to massage it. Massage it all together and make sure it's all really covered and kind of a bit moist. So there shouldn't be like just dried mixture. It should all be mixed in nice together, and you'll kind of know what's right when it's, you know, when it's right. So you can really tell the difference between when it's stirred through and when it's not, when it's massaged through, I should say. And then the last thing I added, because I forgot before, was just some chopped dried dates. So I stirred that all through before I popped this into the oven. So I just lined a big baking tray with some parchment paper or baking paper, and then I just poured on top my mixture and made sure it was nice and evenly spread out. I didn't know how to preheat the oven, so I just basically turned the oven on. So it had already been on, and I put it at 180 degrees because that's what every recipe seems to require. So I popped this into the oven, which was definitely already preheated because it had been on for ages. And then at about 8 minutes, I took it out and gave it a bit of a stir through just to make sure, like, I was trying to get both sides. So I just mixed it all around a bit and then put that back in, and it was pretty much very well done at 8 minutes. So I should only have left it in for another couple of minutes, but I failed and I left it in for way too long, so it did get a bit burnt, especially around the edges, and some of the ingredients that cook faster burnt. However, it wasn't that bad, and also it still tasted absolutely beautiful. So I served this with coconut yogurt for a change. I'm definitely more of a milk and cereal type of girl, not a yogurt girl, not a yogurt and muesli girl, but I was feeling like a change today, and I recently have tried coconut yogurt. So because I don't eat dairy, I hadn't had yogurt in years, and I randomly wanted to try coconut yogurt, so I did that, and it's actually really good, and this combo is so nice together. So I did a little tub of coconut yogurt, and then I added some granola on top, and then the fresh fruit that I topped it with today were some banana. Of course, you always need banana, or I always need banana. And then also a handful of fresh blueberries from the farmers markets, which are so beautiful. I also added a dash of almond milk because I just felt like I needed to, and it actually went real well with it. It went so nicely. So I would definitely bake these for around 15 minutes and just keep an eye on them and see how they're going when you do bake them, because I obviously did mine a little bit too long. I had mine in there for 19 minutes. So yeah, a few minutes less than that would do the trick. And then I just felt like including this little taste test bit because I have no idea why, but it was really, really good. I highly rate this breakfast. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. That would really mean a lot. I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, and I hope to see you in the next one.